Well, hello. I've been watching a lot of things on YouTube lately, and one of the things that I always watch is Professor of Rock, and he was talking about how people nowadays listen to music as opposed to how they used to. And he was talking about how more often than not nowadays, particularly folks that are younger than I am, I'm 52, they will listen to playlists streaming. So they might hear one song by, say, Grace Vanderwall, and then another song by Yes, and another song by Like a Storm. And then they might hear something by Rise Against. And so it'll just be one song, like a stack of 45s flopping down on an automatic player. And he said he's not really sure people listen to entire albums all the way through anymore, but he says it is important to do that because you get to hear the long form art of the album. And 9 times out of 10, I'm listening to an entire album when I'm in my basement. I've got the stereos behind me, the CD rack is there, but I've also got the record player in the corner. Right now, I have just a crappy record player, but at some point I'll get a much better turntable. But albums like Abbey Road, you want to listen to that whole thing in its entirety. I also have it on 5.1, which sounds amazing. The rear speakers are behind me there and there. And that's how I tend to listen to Abbey Road lately, is my 5.1. If I'm going to be sitting down and listening to the whole thing, I listen to that Giles Martin 5.1 mix. Sounds great. But Abbey Road, again, outstanding record. You can't help but listen to the whole thing. You just, at least me, I love hearing it beginning to end. And even if I'm listening to it on a CD or the 5.1 Blu-ray, I don't want to stop and say use the restroom. I want to listen to the whole thing. So when I do, if I have to stop, I'll wait till it gets to the end of I Want You, which on vinyl would be the end of side one. And I'll, sorry about bumping the camera, run upstairs, grab a cup of coffee, or grab a cup of tea, or use the restroom, or whatever, and then I'll come down and finish listening to the album. That's the only logical place to stop listening to that album. And this one is Zeppelin IV, and this is another perfect album, beginning to end. There's not a bad song on it. I can't say enough good things about Zeppelin IV. In fact, the very first CD that I ever bought was Led Zeppelin IV, and that would be right here. And I've got 3 copies of Zeppelin IV on CD. This is the original one that I bought in the 80s at Montgomery Ward's or something. I think it was Montgomery Ward's. And I didn't even have a CD player yet. I bought this because my cousin Chris had gotten a CD player for Christmas. And I was like, well, the Beatles haven't been released on CD yet. Those came quite a bit later. And so I was like, what is my favorite thing besides the Beatles? And that would be Zeppelin 4. And so let me put that back in there next to Zeppelin 3. And then, of course, we've got Black Sabbath Paranoid. Again, beginning to end, fantastic album. Can't say enough good things about Sabbath's Paranoid. It's a perfect album. You're going, oh my God, it's all rock albums. Well, it's not all rock albums. I mean, we've got some stuff that is certainly a little bit more like adult contemporary or just jazzy even, but Tapestry is another album, beginning to end, absolute pure perfection. Can't say enough good things about Carole King's Tapestry. Let me set the record albums down over here and grab a few other things that I think are just legendary. Beginning to end, Donald Fagen's The Nightfly. Great album all the way through. Tying in with that, Steely Dan's Asia. All the way through. Fantastic album, fantastic record. Nick Drake, Brighter Later. That album is one that I've only been listening to this year. But oh my God, I happened to hear a Nick Drake song on The Royal TV show. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, I got to get that album. I got this one and I got another Nick Drake album, which is, let's see, 5 Leaves Left. This is a great album too, but Brighter Later is my favorite by him. And I'll be getting more Nick Drake because he's really enjoyable to listen to. Oh, Looking in the D's, another album that you should really listen to all the way through is The Doors' L.A. Woman. Great, great album. Deep Purple, Machine Head. Just put that thing on, listen to the whole thing. Always a good listen. One of the greatest albums ever, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This one is from the mono box right here. That is pure perfection right there. I've got it on 5.1. I've got the original Sgt. Pepper CD that I got in '87, and then I've got the 2009 remix, the mono mix, the Giles Martin stereo remaster, and the Giles Martin 5.1 remaster. And what I like about Giles Martin's remasters of Sgt. Pepper is that you can tell his favorite version is the mono mix. And so he pays stereo tribute beautifully to the mono mix of Pepper. Mono mix is the definitive. All of the previous stereo mixes were pretty much an afterthought because the Beatles were present, George Martin, everybody was present for the mixing of the mono, and then they left it to the engineers to make a stereo mix as well, which was put out at the time because stereo was secondary to mono originally back in the 60s. Another legendary album. I had to write my name on it. It's just on the plastic. But I never wanted anybody taking my George Benson, The Other Side of Abbey Road. That album, beginning to end, really, really great stuff. Never tire of it. And this one here, I still need to get a better vinyl copy of Pet Sounds. But you've got the nice thing about this CD is it has the original mono mix and stereo mix on it. And the mono mix is first, and then it has the stereo. Listen to that album all the way through. Fantastic record, beginning to end. And one of my other all-time classics is Mozart's Clarinet Concerto in A. Now, for years and years, I always listened to this copy, Benny Goodman's version of Mozart's Clarinet Concerto in A. You've got the Allegro, Adagio, Rondo, Allegro, and then the quintet in A, which is Allegro, Larghetto, Menuetto, Allegretto con Variazione. I can't say it right, it's kind of Latin or whatever. But this is the same exact, it's the Clarinet Concerto in A and the quintet in A. And what's great about the David Schifrin one, which is now my definitive, this and Thea King are my definitive versions. I still love this, but Goodman played the regular clarinet and Schifrin plays the basso clarinet. So the low notes that Mozart originally wrote that most clarinets can't hit are in this. Goodman, when he gets to those notes, he plays an octave higher than where they would be on the basso clarinet. So pick up a copy of David Schifrin's Mozart's Clarinet Concerto in A, K622, and the quintet in A, K581. You can't go wrong. It's perfection. Absolute perfection. I'll throw in a number of discs and listen to an assortment, or sometimes I'll even make assortments. I took a bunch of 70s music that reminded me of the station I grew up listening to, WOMC, and I made mixes where I had all the songs segued, like a couple hours long each. I made like 5 of them, so I have 10 hours of adult contemporary music from the 70s that just segues from one song into the next, and it feels like listening to 104.3 in the mid to late 70s, like when I was growing up. And so there's tons of great music like that, but certain things straight through, you want to hear that whole album. And these are just some of the examples of great albums. I could pull another one here, Boston, that whole album, start to finish. great album to listen to all the way through. A lot of the ones that when I think of an album beginning to end all the way through tend to be from the 70s. But if I had to grab a couple from the 80s that I think I never tire of, I would have to say that Men at Work, Business as Usual. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that album beginning to end all the way through. And then we've got Human League Dare, which is another great one that I listen to all the way through, all the time, from the 80s, going all the way back to, having it on cassette to getting a nice CD copy of it. They're just great albums beginning to end. Oh, and way down on the bottom here, let's see if I can find it. I think this is it. Oh, that's not it. It's got to be this one. Femmes. Violent Femmes. This one contains 2 bonus tracks. But I had that on a cassette when I was young, and I don't know how long it was before it came out of my cassette Walkman, because I listened to it straight through repeatedly for like a month. It was just a fantastic album to listen to, Violent Femmes. And typically if I listen to this disc, I'll even listen to the 2 bonus tracks, but you don't need to. You can listen to the 10 songs from the original album and get everything out of it. It's like, oh God, great stuff. And so I could go through and ramble on all afternoon about my favorite music. I never get tired of music. And over there, I've got my instruments. So when I get tired of listening, I can play music, that sort of thing. But at any rate, I just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of albums that are worth listening to beginning to end, and a lot of fun to just sit back and enjoy them. Like I said, Abbey Road, Sgt. Pepper, Pet Sounds, White Album. That's a big one. It's a double album. You can listen to that all the way through. Beatles. Frampton Comes Alive is another great album just to put on and lose yourself in. Or Frampton Live in Detroit, which was from I think 99 or 2000. And just good stuff. So enjoy your music, lose yourself in your music, and have fun with it. It's so nice to shut off the news, shut off whatever things in life are distracting you or bothering you, and just lose yourself in a favorite album. And so that's what I do quite often. I just lose myself in music. And the very first Beatles album that I ever got was Rarities, right here. I borrowed it from a gal that lived on the next street from me, Bonnie Bratcher, and loved it. So I promptly gave her her copy back. As a matter of fact, she turned me on to Beatles Rarities, Thomas Dolby, his really great album. Where the hell is it? The Golden Age of Wireless, which I have on the original vinyl that I got back in the day as well. And also the Femmes. Well, she and her sister both introduced me to the Femmes. And so 3 legendary all the way through kind of albums are great. This one here, it's got some the 2 best songs on this one are She Blinded Me with Science and Europa and the Pirate Twins. And those are great, but Radio Silence, Airwaves, Flying North, Weightless, I could pop this whole album on and just, drift away. And so it's great. That's a Dobie Gray one, but you know what I mean. So have a good one. Take care of yourselves and enjoy your music. Lose yourself in it. And if you don't have a copy of Pet Sounds or Pepper on mono or 5.1, get them and enjoy them. This isn't endorsed by anybody. Nobody even cares that I'm making a video down in my basement today. And there'll be like 6 people total that ever watch this, and you're one of them. So thanks for watching. Have a good one. Live long and prosper. Bye.